Welcome back to the Muster Point Beyond the Wire. I'm your host, Stu Mendelson, and today we've got one hell of a guest for you. Now, some people say they've had a rough trot in life, but our guest this week has been through more careers, setbacks, and scrapes than most blokes could manage in 3 lifetimes. I'm talking about Chad Maskell. He's a veteran who survived Deepcut, been homeless, sold cars, worked in banking, done close protection, managed multi-million-pound logistics contracts out in the Middle East. He's driven lorries and grafted as a labourer. And that's just the highlights reel. He's hit more hurdles than your average man. But the thing about Chad is this: every single time he gets back up. These days, he's channeling all that experience into something that matters, the Veteran Housing Group. And he's on a mission to make sure no veteran is left behind. So stick with us, because this conversation isn't just about survival. It's about resilience, purpose, and proving that life after service might knock you down, but it doesn't have to knock you out. Here's my chat with Chad Maskell. Chad Maskell, a man with fingers in many pies, a very busy man, and I'm very grateful for you sparing some of your time today to talk to us on the Muster Point podcast Beyond the Wire. So start at the beginning. Tell us a bit about your service, mate. Who did you serve with?
I was logistics, mate. Well, first off, mate, thank you. I really appreciate this. Yeah, it means a lot. I've been following you for a while. And looking at your podcast, mate. I know you're a humble bloke. Do you know what I mean? But I do. You're not very good at taking compliments, are you? So
No.
Really
that's
well.
One of the things I've uncovered in therapy, that someone gives me a compliment and I'm like,
I'm the same. I'm like, oh, if I could do what I do,
go away.
Oh no, mate. I'm the same. I'm like, if I could do all of this and stay visible, I would love to do that, you know. But unfortunately, it's necessary. But
exactly.
Yeah, mate.
So come on then, RLC.
So yeah, logistics, mate. I was Royal Logistic Corps. You know, I joined September 97. And 397 intake 198. Did it all down in Aldershot originally, because I didn't join as a driver, right? The recruitment guy, I was running away from home, so anything would have done, really, to be honest. I did the entrance test for the army. Guess where the ball lands? Wicked, you're in. You know, one of those things. And they were like, well, you could be a Michelin star chef or this. And I thought, well, that doesn't sound like a bad shout. You know, the recruiter was a chef, and he kept telling me that you're always going to be warm, your belly's going to be full. And I thought, well, you're going to cook well, it's all going to be epic. So I thought, well, what's not to like? But I soon realized that I have zero passion for cooking, and I could probably burn a pot noodle. So I went through basic. And then went through an apprenticeship, because I joined as a junior soldier. So I went to Harbourfield Apprentice College after basic, and then I transferred to become a driver before I started phase 2, really. So I then went to Deepcut Barracks, mate, and that was an interesting learning curve. You know all about that. So yeah,
I think Deepcut was the first big public, it was in the public domain of it uncovered the fucking arseholes in the British Army, and it started the changes.
Yeah, it was a dark time, mate. We had block fires, there was suicides. I mean, I was sleeping in a 4-tonner. There was so much bullying going on. There was, it was horrible. There was a lot of fear. It was a very horrible time, you know.
Yeah.
I was very young. My hair fell out from alopecia, and it was a really dark time, you know. But I suppose for somebody like me that was coming from a very interesting childhood, to join the military and then have to go through that process of, where there's lots of similarities, it wasn't the best experience. So my beginning stages of joining the military weren't the best, mate, really.
Did you survive Deepcut and make it into the regular army, as it
Yeah,
were.
yeah. Of course, yeah. Mate, I had nowhere to go, so and if I was one of those kids, because so my stepfather was ex-military, he was Air Force. He had anger issues. He was a violent man. I wouldn't say that repeatedly. I don't want to put too much shade on him, but he had this persona where you would live in fear all the time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the easiest of kids, and I used to get a kicking quite regularly, to be fair. So, I'm not playing a violin. It's just one of those. And my mother was unaware of a lot of the things that were going on when she wasn't there.
Yeah.
So yeah, joining the military and then, going through a situation which, it's just, it is what it is, isn't it? So you just got to keep fighting through. And
Exactly.
so you just, look, what breaks you makes you stronger. I've taken that philosophy into everything in life. So the only way out is through. So yeah, I then got posted to 27. I just started the journey working within the logistic corps. Did a tour, did Cyprus, Bosnia, did a load of exercises, which I really, really enjoyed. Mostly not as a driver. I would attach
Yeah.
myself to infantry units. That was epic. Completely different vibe. Like Grenadier Guards were awesome. Jumped onto the back of airborne exercises. They're nuts. That was awesome. And just wanted to get amongst it really. Joined
Yeah.
the boxing team, and yeah, just did that for a while as a tracksuit soldier. For 27.
Everyone's dream, that.
Well, you would think so, yeah. But I mean, if I'm honest, I hated what I was doing. I wasn't excited.
Yeah.
I was surrounded by a lot of power trip people, within the RLC. I'm not saying that's the case now, but my experience, sort of jumped up Lance Jacks and people that were privates kiss ass in Lance Jacks and, people that would overemphasize their authority. And when senior people were around, I could see through that. And I despised it. Bearing in mind, I had
Yeah.
a problem with senior figures, from my stepfather, who was, I think he was a sergeant or a chief tech. Yeah, but it is what it is. You just crack on and you just get on with it, really. But things just kind of went from bad to worse, really.
Well, while you were serving,
Yeah,
or
mate.
you?
Yeah. So I saw my dad die when I was like 6 years old, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That it's one of those things you just sort of put in a box, you leave it alone. And obviously the issues with my stepfather, and then you join the military, and then you've got all these other people that are constantly trying to make themselves look good in front of other people. And I was surrounded by just gutless people. I couldn't stand it, but I was trapped. I didn't know how to deal with it really.
Yeah.
And yeah, I
Is
mean,
that what led you to leaving? Was it?
no, so it was a sequence of events really. I was what happened with Deepcut really did mess me up a little bit, but it's one of those things you just push it aside. It's normal, isn't it? It's just one of those. And then you see it all coming out, and you're just like, no one cares, no one listens. So what's really
Yeah.
the point? And I'm not a snitch. I'm not going to grass on somebody. The only reason the thing at Deep Cut got exposed is because somebody else found out what was going on, and they dobbed them all in. I never came forward with that.
Yeah.
But I was hoping it would just sort of fade out and stuff, but it didn't. And yeah, just interesting, mate. Interesting.
So what led you to? When did you leave? How long did you end up doing?
My mother. Sorry, I got lost then at the last bit. My mother was dying of cancer, and she was pretty much all I had left. She retired at 39. She moved to Spain. A few years after I joined, and yeah, just I got to a point where my marriage was imploding. It was a bit of a challenging time. She was pregnant with somebody else's kid. You can imagine, I wasn't best behaved. I was young. I was stupid. I was juvenile, a young lad full of testosterone and very much an immature mentality when you're that age, So yeah, by the time I got to 22, the regiment wouldn't help me. They wouldn't support me. I tried to transfer. They wouldn't let me go anywhere because they were undermanned. And I was just trapped, and things got from bad to worse. The guy that was responsible for what happened in Deep Cut got posted to the same regiment. And I'm just like, mate, this is ridiculous. Like, it just got, and the military didn't know how to deal with me. I started to lose the plot. You know, welfare
Yeah.
had no clue what they were doing. You get to the med center to some colonel who doesn't really know what they're doing. I'm not saying they don't now, but then it was a case of, oh, let's either give him some tablets or sign him off. You know, and that was probably the worst thing that could have happened. I was working on the doors. You know, I just turned into a bit of a nutcase.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of it, but I went from being this timid little kid to just a complete nutcase.
Yeah.
And I rebelled against them, and they couldn't control me. No one could control me. I had this pathway of destruction ahead of me, and I was just uncontrollable. So they said I was temperamentally unstable, and they couldn't provide me any help and support. So they med discharged me. They got me out. So got me gone.
So they actually medically discharged you.
Bang, see you later. Services no longer required. Bye. Yeah. So
and what year was that?
God, that was 2002. Yeah, 2002.
Yeah.
And I was homeless for a year and a half.
That's mad. So, but what I'm hearing is they didn't know how to handle you.
No.
So they medically discharged you to get rid of you.
Got me going.
And just discarded you. No duty of care.
None at all, mate. They
Hell.
didn't. Look, I'm not all NCOs were like that. The OC was a lovely guy. Hated the sergeant major. Again, he was one of those sort of weasel kiss asses. You had an amazing staffer. I reached out to you recently. His name was Tony Wakefield. He was an absolute legend. But everybody else was just, they were horrible because you're in the boxing team. Everyone hates you because you're always in a tracksuit running around, you know, and then you get looked after in that sense. But then you come back, they're trying to dick you for guard. They're trying to dick you for extras, do this, do that. And you're like, what? You want me to sit on the, I'm sat there on the parades, not the parades. I'm sat there in the vehicle park, stenciling tire pressures. I'm like, is this
Bloody
my
hell.
career? I'm like derusting rollers. I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. This is ridiculous. I want to be around lads I can get on with and have a crack and this, but there was so much. So I just started rebelling against everyone. I hated everyone, if I'm honest with you. I never, you know, I just rebelled. I had no care for anything in the end. It's very sad, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
When you look back on it.
So how did that leave you? Like, I mean, so you had your bedding in, you've been medically discharged.
Didn't even do that.
You find yourself.
Didn't even do that, mate. I was in a pad. So my first wife, she was pregnant with somebody else's kid. So she basically came down and emptied the pad. So I had an empty pad. And then they said in so amount of days we're gonna take the keys. That's it.
Yeah.
So, and they did. I came back, doors were locked. What do I do? I didn't know. There was no transfer. There was no resettlement. There was nothing. You're out. You're done. I had no support from anybody at all. I was like, well, what do I do? I had an old XR2, you know. I mean,
so the question is, what did you do?
I put it about. I was still working the doors. So then I was bed hopping at first, as you do. Do you know what I mean? Working on the
Surviving,
doors. Yeah. And then I had to get away from that because it was getting from bad to worse. Then I found out my best friend was involved with my first wife. And I thought, this is epic. So everybody in the military, I wasn't on the same page with. And the lads that I put my life and soul into, one of them had betrayed me. And I'm like, I'm just surrounded by people that betray you. Like, how do I find people that are just honest and I can just confide in? So my trust in people, even since a childhood, whether it's my stepfather or, you know, was just surrounded by people that were putting the knife in or fighting back or, I'm not playing a violin, you know, I mean, I give as good as I got sometimes, but I'm an Aries, mate. I'm so brutally honest and transparent. All right, I have diplomacy now, you know. Yeah. But I just within a thought, I can switch if I choose to. So people don't like brutal truth, really. So.
I think it's totally understandable. Like as you said, if you've experienced the world around you you make up it's against you.
Oh, it was.
And it's not. I don't think it's about playing a violin.
No, definitely
But
not. I'm just
then,
being honest.
then you escape that by going to the military, and you find yourself in the same environment, and then you get poorly dealt with, and then
Yeah.
you're left with nothing, and then again it happens. The world treats you badly. People, like your best mate, as you said, is doing the dirty on you, and it's like, well, there's no, it's not surprising that you haven't experienced that. You rebel, you're angry against the world, and but how did you pull yourself out of that?
Well, I didn't first off. I then ended up sleeping in a car, in a Cavalier for a while. And just time moved on, and I started connecting to local charities. The what's it called, Oxfam and charities like that. I didn't get any help from the military or any military. I got no help from anybody. So military wise, and I'll be honest with you, like a lot of us, we hate the military if we've left under bad circumstances. Although we've been a part of it, there is that inner hate and disappointment and anger there for a lot of us that have had to go through certain experiences. Then, not now, obviously. I mean, God, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I had that mindset, towards the military or veterans. But I just local charities, mate.
But I still think there's that element as veterans we remember, and because even now, like obviously I've been through my shit and I'm out the other side, and the experiences I had where I've reached out for help and a military charity hasn't supported me, I'm like, I'm honest. So if I'm supporting someone and they go, oh, I've heard about XYZ, I'm like, I'll be honest with you, I went to XYZ and this is what happened. Like I can't let go of that.
I've done all the groundwork, so I put the whole team to work on the entire. I wouldn't say all 1,800 of them, but all the top 50 to 100 prominent ones within different areas. I put the whole team to work on calling them as case studies, pretending to be somebody to see how good they were in terms of what they advertise, they market, what they put out there. Mate, it's very ugly. It's a very traumatic experience, if I'm honest with you. So I can only imagine what veterans have to go through, It's savage.
Yeah.
So, I know exactly what you're talking about. So
she managed to reach out to some charities, and I guess you got some support, and you started building yourself back.
Yeah, so I was sat eating a food parcel outside of public toilets, and I saw across the road Nissan car garage, salesman wanted. And when you're just in that, and everyone goes through it, whatever kind of experience, you're in that point where it seems like almost world ending, trying to work life out. I have no idea what the civilian world is, but I've got to do something. This can't continue anymore. I'm done. And I just walked across the road and, said, look, I see you're looking for a salesman. He said, yeah, come here, sit down. He said, yeah, I need a salesman. Where do you see yourself in a year? I said, I don't know, sat where you are. And he was like, yeah, all right, mate. Oh, big cringy when you think about it now, but I didn't care. I was like, I'll sit with I'll smash it, whatever, cocky little prick or whatever. But I didn't have anything to lose, mate. And when you've got nothing to lose, you've got everything to gain. So
exactly.
I was the only person to sell 2 cars that day. So
wow.
He gave me the job. Then, but I didn't have a suit or shirts or shoes, so I had to go to different charity shops to get mixed match suits and shirts and trousers, and shoes, so that I could wear them. And I hid my situation from them. Like, all right, yeah, guys, see you later. And I'll sneak off, and I'll be, put my suit up in the hanger on the car. And do you know what I mean? It was, and then I would, get that. And then I was second top salesman first month. And then I just smashed it over and over and over and over. I got enough money for a bed sit so I could afford. Yeah, there was nothing in it. It was empty. It was just a room. But at least I had a roof over my shoulders so I could move the stuff from the car into the room, And then the next month I could buy a bed or a mattress at least on the floor. And then I could get a TV and curtain, all these normal things, I didn't have to eat the food parcels anymore, and it just went from there. And within 12 months, I'm in corporate banking.
You're in what, sorry?
I moved into corporate banking.
Okay. And how did that come up?
I just thought,
like going from a Nissan car salesman to corporate. Oh, sorry, you just caught me off guard there.
Mate, I've got about 15, 20 trades. I'll shock you when I tell you, and it'll blow your mind. But yeah, I sat there and I'm thinking, I'm smashing the sales, I'm making good money, but I need to I need to challenge myself now. You know, I learn fast. I get up quick. I go quick. When I get my teeth into something, I'll stop at nothing to get it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Hunger, that drive, that just relentless pursuit has always been there. It just depends how I channel it. So I thought, sorry, I'll amend my CV as you do. Who checks your GCSEs anyway? Do you know what I mean? So I thought, right, I'll put
Totally.
that on there. Be in maths. Bang, got in there. I didn't have any. I remember the interview. She said to me, "Look, you've got no previous banking experience. That old chestnut." And I was like, "Look,
Yeah.
this is sales. I could sell anything to anyone. You know, sand to an Arab, snow to an Eskimo. Give me a chance. I'll be able to sell." Right? And they were like, "Okay." I said, "Look, give me the chance. If after my induction period I haven't ticked all the boxes, then at least you give me the chance. At least I tried. But I'd really appreciate it if you would give me the chance to do it." She's like, "Okay,
Yeah.
fine," and bang, got in, done it. Mate, I'm dyslexic, so I don't know anything about numbers and all that sort of stuff. You just work it out. The calculator, get it done.
Mm.
You don't have to learn all the crap that you're taught at school that you'll never use again, like Pythagoras' theorem and all this. I mean, what's pi? 3.14. But it's like one of the things I don't need to know 90% of it. Just so then I would, as an account manager for Lloyd's, you're going through, you're selling products, you're selling non-regulated products, you're looking at people that are in debt up to their eyeballs, you're consolidating their debt, you're putting them into a loan, and that was before all of that hoo-ha was happening with people being taken advantage of by, banks and institutions consolidating loans for people's debt. But I was in that job for about 6, 7 months, and I'm
Yeah.
like, when you're just not designed for that world. And I would see like 40-year-old company directors mortgaged up to their eyeballs, beautiful wife, kids hanging off them,
Mm.
in debt up to that. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be that guy.
I imagine it's like the film The Wolf of Wall Street,
Oh,
where everything's show, like money, 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 money.
hey, but the thing is I smashed the sales targets that were given to me with Lloyd's in the first month of the region. So bang, they're like, oh, well done. In 12 months, you're definitely going to get promoted. You can move to Premier. And I'm like, wicked. What does that involve? Because nothing's commission based. Oh, well, it's £1,000 pay rise. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Okay, so then I'm like, right, I need to then go into sales. So then I went into other roles in terms of sales. Moved into London. Then I went into resourcing. I moved into banking, working with consultancies, KPMG, Deloitte, Accenture, Bank of New York, PwC, all of them. So I'm starting working on an executive level type of resourcing support. And then it just went from strength to strength, really. But you
Mm.
sort of get to that point, and just before the credit crunch, I could see what's happening in financing. People, it's ruthless, the finance world, mate. They will
Yeah, I can
shoot
imagine.
you and stab you in the face at the same time. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of, it's ruthless.
Yeah.
There's almost an art to it, to be fair. But I haven't got my morals. They're there, and I can't do these things. So I just got to a point where I'm like, I was helping senior execs steer into senior positions with the right types of packages, because my mentors were like HR change management directors. So I would have a lot of senior people around me that were just like corporate swinging dicks, And this one woman, Karen, she was amazing. She would go in there, do a complete restructure, hire, fire, promote, let go, And I just thought, this woman she's an absolute boss. Do you know what I mean? So she
Yeah.
really inspired me. But I'm like, but I don't want to do HR, although I'm obsessing over all the back office policy procedure and all. It was almost the model and the business and the processing. So I then started to study business, almost like, I don't want to say like Rain Man, so to speak, but where things sort of, yeah,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
everything just starts going ding, 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 ding. And my ADD suits that kind of mindset 24/7. So I'm like, well, that could, and that moves into that, and then that moves into that, and that moves into that. So, and then it got cross sector and then cross industry, and they would just, and my head just started and I thought, credit crunch was almost there, or it hit. And I'm like, that's wrong. You can't do that to people, you know? Like there was people that lost their homes, that
Yeah.
lost everything, because the banking industry decided to bend them over, and not in the right way. It's a painful experience for anybody. So and then nobody was held accountable. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Like, I don't want to be a part of that. That's wrong. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I became an electrician. There you go, bang,
Bloody
bang, bang. That's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I pushed, I became an electrician, Part P, domestic installer, done my 70th edition, got it all done within like 6 weeks. I just head in the
Yeah.
books,
Yeah.
go, do. And yeah, I did that until the economy really tanked. And then I went to Hereford to do my hostile environment close protection course. Again, another curveball. And then, 2008 went out to Afghanistan. And that's when things really started to take off. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Afghan was
So,
pretty epic.
so you went out. What year was this?
That's
What were we up to?
2008.
2008.
Yeah.
So you're out in Afghan doing CP work.
It wasn't CP initially, no. I mean,
Oh,
I went out
okay.
there to go and work for a company dealing with sort of logistics, transportation as a deputy site manager on the ground. So, again, when going...
Is that like is it KBR? There's the one. Is that
KBR was ATCO. Frontec was one of the companies. DFS was one of the companies. There's a whole variation. Basically, government defence contractors. You go on the ground. Basically, Kandahar Airfield was like was busier than Stansted, mate. It was mental. Yeah. So all the cargo, multinational coming in and out. I was running the cargo team on the ground. So all the uploads and downloads on the on all different variations of aircraft. Do you know what I mean? They set the IL-76s, the 300s, just does a whole. But I knew nothing about any of it, so I literally had to get on the ground and study it all. Because my mate was like, "Look, we've got a deputy site manager's job coming." My brother was qualified to do that job, but was doing it for the competition in Kandahar, right?
Yeah.
For ATCO, and he'd applied for the same role. And he went, "Mate, if you want to get up to Afghan, I'll square you away." And I'm like, "You're a legend." So literally, bang, get the job. No previous experience, not a clue about any of it. On the ground, within 2 hours of landing in Kandahar airfield, I'm stood with a clipboard, not knowing my arse and my elbow. I'll be honest with you. I'm like, what is going on? Oh, mate. So then all the ex-RAF lads, the all movers and that, they hated me because they wanted my job and I wasn't a mover. So I then had to prove a point. I had to go above and beyond, smash the job. And I would do back to back. I went flat out. I would do multiple aircraft on multiple runways at the same freaking time just to prove a point. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, right, okay, boys. And they couldn't say anything.
But I believe that you said earlier on, when you've hit rock bottom and you particularly being homeless and being kicked out of the army and having your missus do the dirty on you, when you've been to that level, and what? Like two aeroplanes at the same time in a foreign country, whatever, bring it on. Do you know what I mean? It gives you that nothing's a problem.
Next job role, I'm sat down with the Canadians having an absolute blast, and they're all Canadian SF. Next thing, I'm a FOB security manager for Tundra. I'm at Spin Boldak. I'm at Split. Somewhere else in the red zone. I've got 200 Afghans under me. And I'm like, okay, just, test and adjust, get on with it. So, and then I moved into other different contracts and roles, and I started to realize, so I'm my strongest, I've developed over 100 million in contracts, right? Specifically within the government side. So this is where things started to turn. I was looking at lads that were winning all these government contracts, right? I don't know if you ever saw the film War Dogs. You see the film War Dogs? You could go on FedBiz, or there was all variations of winning government contracts. And if you were able to win the contracts, you were then able to sub them or JV or something similar, take a slice off the top, deliver on the contract, good to go, right? And it wasn't regulated as it should be then. It was very much, get on the ground. I would see people with $1 million contracts, and I'm like, this idiot couldn't eat water if he fell out of a boat. How is he getting these contracts, mate? And so what I did is I started doing barbecues, right? So you couldn't get alcohol on CAF because it was illegal, but you could get it smuggled in. It was like $100, $140 a bottle, right? So I was like throwing these barbecues, and I was getting everything smuggled in, right? All very allegedly, not onto the base, but into the green zone. So I was throwing these barbecues. Every 6 months, contracting flips over. Get him in the barbecue. Get him in this. I'm ahead of this. I'm doing that. I've got this contract, that contract. Come on, then, boys. Let's work together. Let's all get a paycheck. Next thing you know, within well, I got headhunted to go and work for another company, and then I developed about 80 million in contracts for, or just over 80 million as a 30% shareholder. I went home for the birth of my kid, and they pushed me out to line their pockets. And then what I thought things were with them materialized quite badly for them, because I then started to, because I controlled everything, absolutely everything on the ground, like the new hires and all those bits and pieces. Was working with the guy that was there, was the most arrogant, self-absorbed, egotistic piece of shit that I have ever met in my life. Would love
Yeah.
to say that to his face if I saw him, but it is what it is, an interesting learning curve. But very much I've made it, I'm in control, typical arrogant British twat, if I'm honest with you. But I saw like the end of the tunnel. I was brokering deals with the UAE Special Forces. I was doing COMCAF contracts. There was lots of things that I was putting together to help us mobilize the business. You got to think of the bigger picture. Yeah, they just pushed me out. And I'm sat there in South Wales with a new kid, a newborn baby, going, what the fuck? They used me for all my connects because I was connected to everybody. So I thought, okay,
Yeah.
screw you. I'm gonna set up my own company from my spare bedroom in South Wales. So I started work with KBR UK, delivering
Yeah.
procurement contracts into Kandahar Airfield from Kandahar City from South Wales. So I just built my own website, and then within 6 months I'm in the country. Within 12 months, I've got trucks, generators, crane rentals, back to government contractors. I had a $1 million MOD contract. There's lots of good
Yeah.
things going on. I was getting
Yeah.
there, but I went,
But again, it was that being fucked over by the world, or
yeah,
people in the world, and
yeah. I haven't finished yet.
I'm here. Yeah. Okay, go.
Yeah, so losing 30% of that was a big, I could have retired, and I thought, well, but what's meant to be is meant to be. And I thought, what
Yeah.
do I do? But then because they took control of everything, that meant my network. So I
Yeah.
closed my network down. They lost the contract. So I went, pay back's the bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you. So, and I'm loyal, but to a fault. I'm
Yeah.
loyal. I'll give you my honesty, my trust, and my respect. But the minute you turn, you're done. It's really simple for me. So
It sounds like whoever you were working with was very short-sighted, because it's
deluded
like,
by
right,
their own brand.
let's get Chad involved because he's got all the contacts. Oh, right, let's fuck him off.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was exactly
actually, he's the one with all the contact.
But because the rumor that came up was, so we headhunted two people, a construction director and a construction manager, from ATCO, right? Construction. Brought them in. And we're like, right, guys, back. But I controlled everything. I controlled the money. I controlled everything on the ground. My eye was on everything, right? Not anything slipped through the net. Dude, I broke a deal with the USF. Within 24 hours, I'm sat there with a pile of US dollars, hundreds of thousands of US dollars in cash, right? And I'm like, I got an option now. I could bag this and fuck off home, or do the right thing, hand it in, let's help mobilize and get this 30% paid out on. And that's exactly what I did. Anyone would lie if they said that thought's never gone into their mind, but you've got to be honest with yourself. What could this do? For me, have they screwed me over? No. Do I want to know? Because karma will come back. That's not good. Look, I'm on a good thing here. Do the right thing. Drive forward and be a good person. So I did, and it backfired. So I was like, well,
Yeah.
you win some, you lose some. That's kind of how it rolls. But that then gave me the drive to do the same thing, but myself from home. Within 12 months, I'm rolling. And then I'm in Dubai setting up British AFG International, general trading company. I came back and my Afghan business partner had liquidated my assets. I was like, mate, there's a lesson.
You couldn't make it up, could you?
Oh, mate, I'm sat there going, I just blew 80 grand in Dubai. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, really? Okay, this is going to be fun. What do I do now? And then, I just started working. I ended up trying to offload some of my contracts, closed it all down, got put in the red because of what he'd done, sold loads on the black market. And I'm just like, oh, this is ridiculous. I start connecting with other MPs in Williside Jurga and trying to broker different types of deals. And then it just got to a point where I ended up at Camelot, at Kia in Kabul. And I'm like, I'm running out of options now. I've got to go home. So I went home and Kia got smashed by the Taliban. A V-bid went off right next to where I would have been, and they did a full frontal assault apparently. So I was like, God bless all
Lucky
those.
escape.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I've had loads of these lucky escapes where I should have been blown up 10 minutes before. You know, like something's landed where I would have been sat if someone hadn't have called me randomly. You know, I would be dead. Do you know what I mean? I've had that many times in life. So I come
Yeah.
back and I'm a fucking labourer on a building site, and I'm like, I've just spent 7, 8 years, like, and I'm literally here with nothing again. Like, what is going on? I'm literally sofa surfing. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, this is mental. Because I came back, my second ex-wife, bless her, that wasn't working out because I was a workaholic, right? And when I did come back, we were just two different people, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to get out of here. And yeah, anyway, just things change, didn't they? You just keep building. And so I started building again. But how do I do what I did in the Middle East here in the UK? I didn't want to fall into that corporate ladder. How do I amend my CV to suit working with X, Y, and Z in the UK? There's just so much going on. So I just I started working on the lorries and working with a risk management company. And, you know, I joined Newman University to study psychology. And yeah, well, that didn't work out. But well, because I'm working for a risk management company, right? And so working on the security teams on the ground with the HS2 stuff for a period of time, right? You know, the guys in black balaclavas that you'll see in the background behind police moving protesters and all that sort of stuff. It was kind of connected to that, and I was like, I do that for a short period of time. Joined Newman University, study psychology because I want to support veterans. I want to help veterans, right? Now, bearing in mind, most of the contracts and stuff that I've done in the Middle East were all to do with construction developments or something similar, right? But I didn't want to move into that world just yet. So I pushed the psychology route. I remember the staff tutor, right? Goes, right, okay, so, you know, starts laying out all the information. I said, look, I just want to ask you a few questions. Tell me if I'm wrong. This 3-year degree is going to put me over 50 grand in debt. If I'm fortunate enough to get a 2-1, possibly through the NHS, I can get sponsored to go for my masters, right? Yeah. But then you're going to put me in a 30 grand a year salary for 3 years. Yeah. So I'm on 60 grand now. Well, I don't understand why I would do that. It doesn't make any logical sense. He went, well, it's a young man's game. I was like, it's a mug's game more like what's the kind of a fool decides to do that? I was like, okay, but each to their own, you know, without putting any shade on anybody else that are in that world. But again, it's a marathon, that world, not a sprint. So my life is has been a series of sprints to get to where I need to get to. So, you know, till what I'm doing now. So yeah, that never worked out. And then I just thought I went through a bit of a midlife crisis, mate.
I'd say it was more of 110 meters hurdles with all the knockbacks you've had rather than a straight sprint.
Yeah, backwards. Yeah, exactly.
So come on, Chad Maskell, soldier, car salesman, banker, close protection, Middle East logistics expert, networker, labourer, lorry driver, psychology,
dog handler,
bloody hell. So how does a man of many talents?
It was torture.
I really hear a passion for people, or wanting to find the best out of people, and give back, and not be one of those cretins that lets the human race down. So what happened? So we want to talk about my cab, right? How did that come about?
Yeah, no, that was spot on. So I kind of went through a bit of an awakening. You know, I don't want to sound all woo woo and stuff, but when you're a jack of all trades and you can do anything you put your head to, it destroys you, because when you've got that internal sense of, like, I've got ADD and I'm relentless in my pursuit, and I'm either all or nothing. There's no happy medium with me. I'm all in, you know. But when you can't find that thing to go all in, it's almost like you're slowly imploding, you know. And then you start questioning, am I a failure? What's wrong with me? Why am I not this? You know, I want to get established. I want to, you know, be able to support my family. I want to be doing this, doing that. And it was just, so I went through a complete awakening of sorts where I went away on a course. I'm not going to promote them because they missold to me and they're doing a lot of horrible things to people, which I'm going to resolve at some point. But I went away to do this property development type of course where I thought, well, I know a lot about property in general, so let's see what it's about. And there was a spiritual part of it where it sort of stripped you down, you know. Bearing in mind, most of us have got a lot of trauma, you know.
Yeah.
We put it in a box. Yeah, you're dealing with that, mate. Crack on, bosh. But you had to open that box, you know. And when you open that box and you face it, it just keeps punching you in the face, doesn't it? It doesn't matter what it is. We've all got it, you know. I'm not nothing special. So I had to face that, and that breaks you down to a blank canvas so that you can start rebuilding. And I had a one-to-one. I walked out into the countryside, bearing in mind it was at this manor thing, and I just walked out as the sun was coming up over the trees. And I ain't into all that, right? I'm just not. I'm not. Don't talk to me about any of that. Then I didn't have any faith in anything. You know what I mean? I was always trying to find faith in myself, really. And I just put it out there to the universe. I was like, look, if I've got a purpose, let's get busy. But if I don't have a purpose, kill me now. I'm done. Like, I'm literally done. It's torturing me. It's not just kill me now. I'm done. Right. And I've been through those moments where I'm ready to pull the trigger and all that sort of stuff. I've gone through those addictions. I've gone through those dark times. I was like, just if I've got nothing to do, just end it. All right. But
yeah,
if you exist and this is true and the universe is listening and people in spirit are there, in theory, my ancestors go back to the beginning of time. So I need all of you fuckers to pull together in spirit and help me out. You know, like I need to know what it is I've got to do. I've got a purpose. I want to help people. I want to change people's lives. I don't want it to be about me anymore. It has to be about, and the military. Come on, let's go. And then bang, 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 bang. Literally everything just started landing. Maskell Investment Capital, property developments, resourcing as in recruitment, and then consulting, which is what I do anyway. That's that. Then veteran housing group. How do I house veterans? You know, there's going to be a transition there. So do I buy stock? I need to get backed by finance, pension funds, family offices. I need to start linking in the finance world again. I need to start studying sectors, private sector, public sector, military sector, charitable sector, start working out all the back office procedures and strategies and how it's done. It's complex. I need to know it. So I then Combat Care, that's a supporting mechanism, which is the training company, which also supports alignments with other charities. And then that provides mentors, psychologists, psychotherapists, counselors. And then I need another charity, which is a grant making the Veteran Housing Foundation. I went to see a medium, right? Before all of that had pieced together, and I thought, oh god, give it a go, mate. Do you know what I mean? Why not? You know, she's probably gonna. If I'm gonna win the lottery, I'd like to know. Do you know what I mean? And mate, I was during COVID, where I was driving my truck. I discovered a guy called Jordan Peterson. Right, love him or hate him, it's your decision. I don't care. But the reality is that he was saying, look, as a man, you know, and I'm not taking anything away from women or whatever you identify as, but as a man, you've got to take a responsibility, you know, on yourself to just get out there and do it. Don't rely on anyone. Don't depend on anyone. You just got to get out there and do it. If I have to shovel shit, get out there and do it. Just do it. Because when you're out there in the world doing stuff, whether you like it or hate it, get it done, suck it up, and then something will cross your path when ready. That's what you're meant to do. So get out there. So I'm sat in the truck doing talks, right, during COVID, you know, delivering for the Royal Mail, you know, these big Arctic lorries. And I'm doing talks as if I was in a seminar talking to people. And the medium went up to me. She went, the talks you're doing in your truck. I said, you what? No one knew about this, Stu, no one. I went, you what? She said, the talks that you're doing in your truck. Yeah. She went, your mum's your biggest fan. Mate, I just got goosebumps. I got goosebumps now. I was like, I went, oh, you're good. You're good. You're good. Tell me more. What else am I going to? You know, have another kid. I'm like, oh yeah, I thought you were going to say that one, but you know, it's like great, awesome. But then she went on. She went, no. Listen, this is big. This is big. And I was like, okay. She went, you're going to create a number of charities. You're going to have a property company. You're going to be. I can see you with county councils and plans. I just see you standing there with plans, and I see the military. The military's on everything. I'm like, the military. I'm like, right. And she said, and you're going to be doing stand-up talks. She said, but you've got to understand something. The reason you've had to go through so many different experiences in a life of trauma is that now you're going to be put to a point where all of those trades experiences are going to be pulled together so that you can then utilize that and use it as a force for good. And you're going to be there to represent the military, to speak out, to help people, give them support and guidance. They're going to resonate with you because you've lived it. You're not listening to someone that's read it from a freaking book, which I can't stand to a degree. Somebody that's lived it, raw. If you walked a moment in my shoes, you've got a moment of my time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, she on drugs or something? Do you know what I mean? Right. Okay. And it all started happening.
Yeah. Do you know what I had? Maybe a few months ago, I had a similar sort of experience. It was with my therapist, where, obviously, the stuff that I'm doing now with the Covenant and sort of speaking to guys like yourself and Darren up at Veterans into Logistics and speaking to MPs and speaking in Parliament, and I was like, it sounds similar. I had some sort of awakening where I was like, none of this would be possible if I hadn't have been blown up in Afghan, been treated the way I was, spiraled into addiction, tried countless times to get clean, had all that therapy, managed to get myself clean. Like it's
all necessary.
Maybe people listening to this may think, yeah, fucking hell, these two, what they on about? But it was something. It just like opened up this door. I was like, it's.
Do you think
all meant to have happened?
Like, do you think that, like, it's got? Nobody really knows the answer. So then we all start searching and we're trying to work it out. Everyone's trying to work it out. We thought our parents knew what they were doing. They were winging it the whole time. Do you know what I mean? Especially when you become a parent. But it makes sense to me. It's almost, so what I've had to do is I deal with frequencies and vibrations and alignments, right? So when I got all of that, I look at my body as like a temple, so to speak, right? It doesn't look like one, but you know what I mean? It's one of them where, if you put the wrong oil, the wrong oil in the engine, it's not going to work right, is it?
Yeah.
So get rid of, this is my only thing left to get rid of. Like, stop doing the cocaine, stop doing the drink, stop doing these things that are damaging yourself. And as a release, you gotta really start looking after you. But it's like the first 25, 30 years of our life, we destroy it, and the next 35 years we're looking after it.
Yeah.
So I started all that, and bang, everything started working out.
Also letting go of that, not just the physical things, but like the emotional, because for me, and by the sounds of it, you could be similar, that I had a lot of anger and resentment against the forces of the way I was treated, and it just 100%. Didn't serve me.
100%.
And it sounds like you're well within your right to have a lot of anger and resentment against life.
True.
But it's almost like, do you know what?
No,
it's happened. How can I turn that into a positive to try? Yeah. And I think that's what I know we've spoke many times over the last few months. How can we do our best to come together and make sure the shit that happened to me that doesn't happen again?
Well, that's the point. And that's the point. So I slowly realized that what I was creating was not out there on a scalable basis that can really work in every sense. So our model with Veteran Housing Group is incredibly complex. Complex. People have tried to copy us. There are similar models out there that are doing things, but not to the level that we're doing it. Like, our model is I mean, we've got access to pension funds. Our first financial release is 35 mil. Once we get to 50, I've got access to another 250 mil. Like, there are a lot of people around us that understand what we're doing and how we're scaling it. And because local authorities, we're not costing local authorities a penny.
So to the layman, what is Veteran Housing Group?
So Veteran Housing Group is the transition from start to finish, including the exit. And that's the most important part, is the exit. So there's lots of companies that do lots of things that add value, as and when. Many do recruitment, but when are you going to live? All right. The smart move here is you've got to focus on the real transition part from start to finish. But it's not one industry. You need multiple industries, So let's say, for example, over 15,000 leave the military last year, right? Estimated. The reality is that there's a huge proportion that move into social housing. There's a huge portion that move into private types of housing. It just depends. It's relative to their situation. It depends on who, what, where, when, and why. But most of us that grew up don't want to go back to where we grew up, you know? Like
Yeah.
there's nothing there. We're running away from that place. So we then, where you were last posted, you get put on the housing register, right? And then you're pushed out, you know, get on the register, and then you sit there like everybody else. There's no real support and guidance, despite what they're marketing and advertising out there. It's all bullshit and waffle, because we've walked that process many times. So I'm like, but once you get to local authorities, even the local authorities are struggling, because you go to local authorities, they're linked to RPs, housing associations or care providers. But that housing association, you then need to be a managing agent that does all the services. You then need to be the investment. You then need to be the landlord. You then need to be the service provider. There are, as in the care provider. There's a whole variation of different organisations that need to be brought in. I was like, well, sod that. Let's bring it all together under one thing, and then link in with the corporates, which we are doing, and then we'll cover. There's the footfall. We'll work the different pathways. We'll link it to the NHS, link it to this, link it to this, link it to this, but we'll become the central entity. So when I go to a local authority, and most of the time, like, you know, I'll sit with the MPs, people like yourself. Oh, look, you know, I know MP, you know, Kevin Benavian, amazing bloke, isn't he? Amazing bloke. And there are people like him who have epic teams that really want to do a lot to support their constituents, like their people within their areas. So, you know, I use Kevin as example with Stevenage. You know, he wants to go above and beyond, as does he's then linked into the chief exec. And the chief execs, you've got some that are proactive, some that are not, right? So that's when things start to get a bit interesting. They normally palm it off. They palm everything off, if I'm honest with you, most of them. But there are a select few that are quite passionate about veterans, and they'll go, yeah, let's get this done. Let's pull the board in. Well, we know how to navigate that entire process.
Yeah.
So that board meeting, I'll be sat with the forces champion, the asset director, the directors of communities, opportunities and partnership. We link him then with the housing benefit lead. The DWP lead comes in. Everybody that's linked to that is at that meeting. And we then say, right, we've got two options. We're going to be a central entity to build out within your demographic. I'm already registered with an RP, a registered provider, because you can register your RP anywhere. It's not rocket science. They're the ones that do your billing for you, because you're an RP. They can bill 100% of the feedback to government, as opposed to a non-RP that can only bill, I think it's 65%. So we can align with any RP, providing we have an SLA, a service level agreement. So I'll say to them, okay, I'm either going to buy stock in your area, and I will convert these micro hubs, right, from 3 to 5 bed studio self-contained apartments for independent living. Nothing shared, not interested in shared. So in essence, like a hotel room, but put together like a HMO, similar to that. But we're going to strip it back to the brickwork, and we're going to build it with all the technology top spec from start to finish, right? And we're going to start putting veterans in these properties within your area. But they give me the footfall. So all the veterans that you've got registered on housing benefit, those on the waiting list, those that have specialist care needs, whether are on the social register, those that are waiting or trapped. There's so many veterans that are trapped in accommodation with no support, because everyone said, oh, we'll house veterans, but then they don't provide the level of support. There's only a select few companies or charities out there that do that.
It's like you said, there needs to be, it's almost taken them from being a vulnerable person into a fully functioning member of society.
Yeah.
And it's good to get homeless veterans a roof over their head where they're safe.
Yeah.
But if they're just left there, like, oh, well done, you've got a roof over your head, but that's
the first. So we'll go, right, there's your shortlisted numbers. We'll then do an assessment on each of them. We've got a rule. There's certain people we don't take in for obvious reasons, because of duty of care. Don't need to elaborate on that, but it doesn't take rocket scientists to work out which people we're not going to put near veterans. But the reality is there's a whole variation of lads and lasses, guys and girls, men and women that, are looking for. Some of them are anti-military, same mentality that we had way back when, but we're like, this isn't the military. You're sort of aligned with people that are, similar thinking, but we're going to help you on that transition part. This is the important part, right? So we're going to bring you in. We will then put those vets into our micro hubs. Alternatively, we can turn around to the council, which is what we are going to say, look, you've got stock on your books that, and I mean, some councils have got thousands of assets on their books, right? That you don't have to offload and sell, because the minute you sell them, you lose the value. You've got nothing, right? Which is not a smart move. because of the limited support local councils get from government financially, they're having to find means and ways of trying to work things out with these assets. So I said, just give them to me, asset transfer them to me. I want a 100-year lease on them. I will completely redo them. So if it's a 20, 30, 50 bed, and these are our larger hubs, by the way, Stu, we will basically put them under veteran housing group. We will then leverage against that lease to be able to repurpose that entire building, and we will then make it an example of what it is we're going to be delivering. We'll bring in the media, we'll bring in this, bring in that, make it look really good as a community thing where everyone as a collective is coming together to support it. And these larger hubs also have training facilities. So all the local charities can come to these. Mate, Op Valor, I pitched it years ago. And although the cost of our hubs are incorporated into the housing, so you don't have to ask the taxpayer for the money. Do you know what I mean? Every year. So it was like, look, how could we try and build these things without being dependent on government handouts? Because government always changes every few years, and then you could implode what you're building. So we're basically repurposing council stock for them at zero cost to them. Every year that goes up in value, so they're basically holding on to it. It's doing something great for the community. They haven't got to deal with anything because we take over all of the control and the pathways and bring it all in so that everyone helps and works with each other as a collective. And then boom, they just got to step back. Veterans are now never going to be an issue for us again.
Yeah.
Private landlords are not bleeding from us. We're saving a fortune. We're making millions in terms of asset value. What's not to like?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, from a veteran's point of view, a veteran that's struggling with housing, employment, mental health. So veteran housing group, the bigger picture, veteran housing group, along with combat care and your other branches, can take in a veteran, fix their head, fix their body, retrain, repurpose, and then push them out as fully functioning, well-to-do members of society. But the kicker as well is that you're going to take this responsibility and burden off the local authorities, therefore saving them money and making them look good in the long run. And also adding, because we spoke yesterday, didn't we, where I know for a fact a lot of local authority housing frontline officers, they don't understand veterans, they don't understand
it's a challenge for them,
trauma. Whereas veteran housing group has got that lived experience to deal with veterans.
Metropolitan district, county, I'm very pro council, mate. I'm really pro council because the councils are full of great people. All right, they are full of great people that are busting their ass, to do so many things, but they have limited support. And 9 times that, you're going to get your idiots. You're going to get your ones that have got the title but don't do the work. You're going to get those that are just freeloaders that are rolling. You get that in every industry. But there are amazing forces champions. There are ex-military people in these county councils. There are people that are not ex-military, but they're very pro-veteran. Not all county councils are like that. I mean, Birmingham's probably the worst, I'll be brutally honest with you. But there are so many that are incredible. You look at Solihull, they're amazing. You look at West Northamptonshire, amazing. Stevenage, Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, amazing. Durham, amazing. Northern Ireland, epic, especially in the Ulster area. There are so many areas that are so pro-veteran, but their hands are almost tied on what and how they could do things. So if we just go in there and go, we'll just push them our way. We'll work it out. Everything's open book. I don't take a CEO's salary. This is not a profit-making model for veteran housing group to make fortunes and pay off greedy shareholders. I don't care for that. I've got my interests elsewhere. This is about creating something that can be scaled from county to county to county, right? But then the exit's there and the responsibility is taken away from, not completely, because county council are always going to have control on things to a certain degree. But when it comes to housing, they don't necessarily have any control because they have to depend on RPs. You then have to depend on landlords. You then have to, do you see what I mean? So we're like, well, bang, we'll just bring it all together. And then we'll work with you with an open book policy to try and work out a solution. You'll never have this headache again. So you could do that. And that's why the Cabinet Office reached out to us. I was like, mate, that is a game changer. They want to mobilize in 26 different counties around the country. Okay, no problem. Modular, no problem. New builds, no problem. Redevelopments, no problem.
I mean, so something you said to me when we first started speaking, which sort of clicked with me, and obviously it always comes back to money. I think that's what the military, a lot of the military charities, a lot of people, well, everyone struggles with money, and things take money. And I think we spoke about the charities model, or the old charity model. It's restricted by rattling tins, getting grants, getting this, and I think that's where it falls down. And
Ugly.
like you said, veteran housing group, that with your experience and networking, love for networking, obviously you've got private investment, and you so tell me how.
Well,
Where does the funding come from?
I'm not going to give you my model, mate, because when it falls in the wrong
Okay.
hands, specific, I'm brutally honest, mate. I can be a nice guy, but I can also be extremely ruthless. And I'm surrounded by high level corporates. Like my whole top table are 20, 30-year high level corporates in finance, banking, all of it. So, because people have asked me it before, mate, I'm not going to shy away from anything. You can ask me anything you want. It's up to me whether I want to answer it. So, like, the reality is that what we've got, like, I've got some of the world's most influential people around me. Like, it would shock you. Like, one of the co-founders of NASDAQ, for goodness sake, ex-MD of Cisco, like people that are high up, very high up. These people walk around in scrappy T-shirts with baseball caps through hotels in Park Lane and Mayfair, in flip-flops, these people, like, do billion-dollar deals on the back of a fag packet. They're on a whole different level of these people are also a force for good. Like, so one of them, he come up to me, went, American guy, I love him, I absolutely love him, a veteran as well. This guy's an innovator, right? Aaron, I won't give you a shout out, but he's one of the co-founders of the world's first hydrogen exchange. He's got his fingers in all sorts of pies, right? So he went, dude, this is a monster.
Yeah.
But this is a force for good. Like, you've really got to make sure you understand the complexities of every part, because everybody needs everybody needs private money. Why do you think Starmer's, like that with BlackRock? There's private investment is essential to building and growing the economy, so people can get jobs and they can support their families and the economy. I mean, don't get me involved in the political side, mate. I mean, we'd be here for days, but the reality is we need private money to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Now, depending on where you pull that money from, depends on how that is delivered. So with the pension funds, for example, pension funds are not greedy. Private investors are greedy, depending on what types you work with, So we roll out any of our deals at 8%, right, on the micro hubs. So, if you, and that's a reasonable return every year. Your money's safe, and we'll then scale it over and over and over. That's on the micro hubs, for example. But for the larger hubs, I mean, a pension fund will sit on that and go, okay, how many of these are you going to build? I don't know, about 15, 20 of them. Oh, okay. So they're more than happy to sit on those for the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years. We've got 100-year leases on them. This is a multi-generational legacy. So you've got to choose the right types of funding model to support what it is you're doing moving forward. But then you have to understand the mechanism. So based on what you just said before, reference the charity world, mate, it is ruthless, okay? But the sad reality is that if you build a charity that is dependent on grants, you're 5 minutes away from imploding and damaging everybody that you're meant to help in the first place. Now, the annoying part is that especially the smaller charities that are location specific, they provide some of the best services you'll ever have. It's still personal. It's still, it's the passion's there, the drive's there. It's normally military wives or families or something similar that have had to live through it, that have decided enough's enough. I want to step up and do something. Those are the charities that matter. But unfortunately, they are dependent on support and handouts in that sense, and grants, right? So although that part's essential, you've got to be able to work multiple funding streams. So MyCat, for example, I was sat in front of the board of Every the other day, right? They're an absolute monster of an organization. They're merging with DHL. They're pro-veteran. They said, Chad, we're going to offer you an opportunity. And I'm sat there going, this is something like out of a film. We hire up to 30,000. In a month's time, we're going to be hiring up to 30,000 temps a week. by the way, we're merging with DHL. I'm like, what? I'm sat there like, what? What are you talking? Like, I've got MyCap recruitment, right? And it's, you know, it hasn't even been operating for 12 months. We're doing okay. But you're just about to land something with me. And so I'm headhunting the right people, you know, that have been in the resourcing that will come up. You went, yeah, but Chad, listen, there was a guy that was sat opposite you that started off in his garage. He's now turning over millions every year, delivering what it is we need to deliver on scale.
Yeah.
Because he was a smaller organization that puts heart and soul into it. It's the same with charities. Those people put their heart and soul into it, and the bigger you get, more complacent you become, right? So, and I'm like, but he's like, Chad, you're going to be moving from hub to hub to hub to hub all around the country. Everywhere you've mentioned, we're already located there. We've got distribution centers there. And with DHL as well, we're kind of going to be unstoppable. So your veterans that are in your transition that come into your hubs, well, they can come and work with us. Put them through MyCap. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay. So put them through MyCap. They then get a full-time job. They can stay in the property for 12 months. We're not going to kick them out. What happens with a lot of people that move them into properties that are for social housing, you know, they're, depending on the model, if you go through the UC+1 model or you go through the HB model, because there's a few variations, is that I'm not going to kick them out. Come on. You know, they're in a full-time job. They've got their head together. They've got their round boys and girls. They've got a right network. They can now save up some money. We put them on a plan. They've got their packages that we've given them, preparation for civilian life, preparation for adult life, teach about planning, communication skills, anger management, banter, all these things that nobody teaches you. And he sets you up. And then we have work with you on your exit to where you want to go. Done. Happy days. Epic. These corporates so important. And then based off of the amount that we're billing against it, we can then write off a portion of our taxes and give it to the our foundation that can then re-inject the money back into to combat care. So, you know, there's so many funding streams. I can go out to the corporates. The reason I've got high-level corporates that work with me on the board with MyCap is because when they open their black book, I'm sat at the top table of some of the world's biggest organizations that want to support veterans. Why am I partnering with people like Darren Wright from Veterans into Logistics? Do you know what I mean? Like, he's a good person that does good things, you know, for people that need their help and support. You know, and he's probably one of the only few, bar you, do you know what I mean, that is on exactly the same page as me, that sees it for what it is. We're doing it because we want to change lives. We want to help people. We want to give those people that, like me, eating that food parcel that had nothing and no one, right? I was blessed because I was able to pull myself out of the darkness, mate. There's many times where I could have just pulled the trigger and I didn't. Inner voice was like, no. But there's some people that don't necessarily have that in them, and their situation could be 20 times worse than mine. But if you've got somebody like me or you or Darren or somebody that's there that says, yeah, mate, do you know what I mean? Get a grip, lock it in, there's some support, mate, good to go, crack on. That's all we need. So that's what's happening. We're building this network with the corporates that can write off a percentage of their corporate taxes. Instead of paying the tax man, give it to a charity, give it to ours, because we're going to put it to good work. Open book policy. We're going to help the boys and girls. The corporates turn around and go, well, come and work for us. Amazon just turn around, we'll put $8,000 into your training. Amazon UK. I'm like, what? $8,000 we'll put into your training. What, per person? Yeah. Okay. You know, these large corporates, and I'm not intentionally plugging them. DHL are an amazing organization. You know, I don't need to plug them. They're already there. They've already made it. But they are so welcome and supportive. They need the footfall. We need the job roles. I don't have to worry about external agencies and all this stuff. It's all there and done in-house. So every hub has a resourcing element with MyCap alongside it, as well as the foundation, as well as combat care. So every hub operation will have that and move and mobilize from location. So it works every time, you know?
So it sounds like there's multiple funding streams from corporate to private pension funds and that.
Mate.
But it sounds like it's heavily reliant on the personalities within the local authorities, the councils, being open-minded to this. So if there is a CEO or a member of a local authority, what would you say to them now?
Well, I'll be honest with you, mate. It sells itself. The challenge is people. So I threw a bit of mud actually on Birmingham City Council. It was a bit harsh with me. I shouldn't have done that, if I'm honest. I don't like doing it, but again, I'm very honest and transparent. If you're amazing, I'll promote you to the world. If you're not, then I'll point out what you're not doing and hope that we can work on finding a solution. They have over 30,000 veterans within their area, right? Of which, because we work on numbers, mate. Everything's about numbers, projections, and extracting the data. We're obsessed with data. So we know that there's at least 1,300 veterans that are on their books. You know, and I sit in front of them and say, look, we're a transition that we want to pull them off for benefits. We don't want them on benefits anymore. We don't want them billing the taxpayer. We want to put them into our transition, get them off of benefits, get them employed, get them into the world, you know. And they went, well, you know, we've not really got any problems with veterans, and there's not really, they almost have to wait till crisis for them to pay attention.
Yeah.
And, you know, well, we did something 5 years ago. I'm like, pre-COVID, that's over 90,000 veterans that have left the military in 5 years. That's what you're giving me. Well, you know, we don't really see there's. I tell you what, Chad, you bring us the numbers. I'm like, you're the one who should have this information. You're the one who should have this data. I just don't think that they listen. Well, we do have an idea of how many international illegal asylum veterans are on our books. Could you support them? I'm like, no, I can't. I'm looking after our own. They need to look after first. Are you mad? Like but they're only they've got so many bigger problems, understandably, than veterans. And if no one's creating a stink or an uproar or anything, then why bother focusing on it? I'm literally coming in there and saying, all I'm asking for you to do is pull all this information and this data together so that I can get it done. You haven't got to do anything other than that. And that's one of the important things with what Al Khan's is doing. So I take my hat off to him for that. Because look, I'm not blowing smoke. You know, we both know people in his circle. You know, I've got people that have known him that used to be his boss. I've got people around him that knew him when he was a Lance Jack. You know, I've got the lowdown on him as a person. Don't worry, your secrets are safe with me. But but he's a good bloke. He's a good bloke, right? And I don't envy him, right? Because he's come out. You know, he was flying, right? Let's be honest. He was flying. He's doing all right. I'm not going to blow too much, man. But he was, you know, he's the most decorated person to obtain his position, from my understanding, ever recorded, right? Yeah. So he's literally got into Alliance then. He's got zero experience in the private sector, zero experience in the public sector, zero experience in the charitable sector, and he's got all the experience you could ever want and more in the military sector. Well, you're in my ball pit now, mate, and it is ruthless. So within politics, he's got to rely on the people that he's got around him, you know, understandably. And that's not an easy process to test and adjust and to work with. So you're always going to have people that move into these political roles that have the best of intentions, and they're trying to think about how can I leave something which is going to be a lasting thing that the rug can't be pulled, and let's focus on the problem. So, you know, he's come in with Op Valor. I understand it. It scratches the surface, but it doesn't provide a solution to the problem. But understandably, because he's Op Valor's stage 1 to 3, we're stage 1 to 10. So the reality is that we know how hard it is internally to do that and extract it. But the most important part is the data. But until that's legally mandatory for authorities to do and deliver on, it might be a challenge for some of them that don't really want to help.
Yeah. So well, I mean, what was it? Last month we had the pleasure of meeting Al at
we did.
Royal Sutton Coldfield Breakfast Club. You've mentioned Valor. What is your hope for Valor? I know you said it's in its early stages, but what would you like? Because I think the veteran community, they see the £50 million and they think, it's just another. It's just another smoke and mirrors. And I get that, because as veterans, we've seen these things come and go and been let down. But I know Al spoke about data, which pricked your ears up. Yeah. And so would you like, if one of the outcomes for Valor could be getting this data?
That's what we're doing, right? And I'm not trying to take any sort of ownership over it, but the data is the most important part, because how are you able to... So, for example, I took a call just the other day off of one of the directors for a council, metropolitan council, and she went, "There's lots of different avenues here, Chad, to procure this data, so many different departments, so many different people. What you're asking for has never been done. It's all separate. And I'm like, I know, but you can get it. And once you get it, you know, by pulling it from so-and-so, like DWP and the council, there's so many, pull all that data in, right? To a central point. That data's put at a central point. You can then work out the pathways. But Optvala can't do the pathways, right? They have to rely on others to do the pathways, right? So,
but this is what was eye-opening to me, because the 50 million isn't there. We're not talking about building new trauma centres. We're not talking about building new hubs. Valor's piggybacking on the back of them and just trying to bring it all together, which I think, I don't know what your opinion is, but I think a lot of the veteran community miss that.
No, look, I get it. I get it, mate. I get it. Like, so, the thing is because this is my world, I can see straight through it. I understand all of it. But I don't deal with the OVA. I don't. If the OVA collapsed tomorrow, it makes zero difference to me. Zero. It makes no difference at all. I'll be brutally honest.
I don't think it'd make a difference to any veteran at the moment, would it?
I'll be honest though. There's no. I have no need for the OVA, Office of Veteran Affairs. Really, there's nothing. There's nothing it brings to us because we're on the ground. The most important part for us is the local authorities. The local authorities are the ones that have it. We just need to pull it together. So and every single. This can't be done from a central point. It's impossible. Right? Because every local authority is different. You're literally moving into a completely new mechanism. The different titles, different positions, different responsibilities. You know, some people go, I'm an armed forces champion, but they're freaking useless. You know, whether they're from the DW.
Because they don't know what they're doing.
But then you've got people that are taking the position, but because it's not a paid for role, it's just an add-on. They're power tripping on it. You've got some that are doing epic jobs, like, you know, you've got your Elizabeth Gorge, you've got Mick Nealis, these people, you've got, you know, Roger, there's just so Richard up in Manchester, McAvoy. You've got some great people that are driven to represent their forces champion role within their organisation, like the DWP, for example. You know a couple as well. You know, they are epic. But then you've got a huge proportion that's complacent, or they don't do anything. They don't respond. They just waffle. You know, they just, it's like, oh. But so if you focus on the good ones, within certain areas, you can get things done. But centralizing that pathway to one point where everything can get done and it's tailored to that authority is why we're doing what we're doing. So, Optvala, if you open up 10 centers and it costs you X, Y, and Z, great. It's going to do something positive for people. I'm not here to throw mud at Optvala at all. And I understand why people be upset about it, because there's also a clique that's connected to the OVA. There is a clique that's connected to the Armed Forces Covenant. There's a clique of people that are getting certain types of grants. There are the higher, larger, bigger charitable organizations that could do so much more, and they don't, you know. And I'm not going to say who they are. We all know who they are. But I have no interest in that. You know, the reason we did what we did is so that we didn't have to rely on government, because unfortunately, you've got good people in government, right? I say unfortunately. It's not unfortunate. Fortunately, you've got great people in government, right? You've got great MPs. You've got great ministers in all the parties.
But they're only guaranteed 4 years, aren't they?
And they're in all different parties. If I could just pick all the good ones, put them into a new party and go, bang, epic, let's go, you know? So that's why I'm not party specific. And people ask me, I'm like, no, don't pull me down that Labour, Conservative, Lib Dem. I just don't. I'm focused on people. I'm focused on British people. I'm focused on British veterans. I'm focused on British communities. Let's work this out. So our model had to be non-dependent on grants and handouts. The grants and the handouts are an added bonus as and when. So sorry, I deviated away from your initial question there in terms of Optvala. I wish Optvala the best of luck. You know, you'll get people that are taking it on, but we're doing this with Optvala, and anyone could spend 50 million of taxpayers' money and take it as an achievement. An idiot could do that. I'm
not sure anyone's boasting doing anything for Valor, because I've got
there's a few, mate.
It's in its pilot. Oh, is there?
Yeah, the Old Boys Network. Yeah, it's normally ex-officers that come out. You know, they move into prominent positions. I'm not meaning to slander, but that's a fact. They have no clue about a lot of what's going on in our industries.
because the pilot area, which is underway at the moment for Valor, is Liverpool, Manchester, and West Yorkshire.
Right.
And I've spoke to some guys I know well up there, and they're like, like nothing. I don't know they don't know what's going on, and I get it. I get it. These things take time, and fucking.
No, I wish it the best of luck, but there's nothing that Valor can bring to me that we can't already do ourselves. So what's the point?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like this is our world. This is what we do. There's already similar types of things that are happening to Valor and to us all around the country. So just going, well, I'm going to put 4 centres here, 5 centres there, 3 there, and and the taxpayer's got to pay for it. It's not a smart move. I don't agree with it at all. I think it's a stupid move, personally. But the corporate sector is where it's at because corporations are billing tens of billions in corporate tax returns. And they are all capable of writing off a percentage of their tax returns to good causes. BAE drops at least 30 million a year in good causes. They take out their pocket and they go, nah, to the tax man, let's put it to great causes. That's BAE. And again, I don't work with BAE. I'm not blowing smoke, but I'm just saying there's a lot of great Yodel, go above and beyond. Asda, go above and beyond. The pallets. There's so many, organized corporates out there where you can extract that money and it doesn't cost them, but it's good media. It's for good purposes. It creates positive things to support communities and it helps get the job done. I don't have to rely on these larger charities that are almost guaranteed their portion of X, Y, and Z. I'm like, go away. I don't like what can you bring to us that we can't already do with the corporates and with the local authorities? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I kind of just let them do their thing. I know I can be quite vocal, but I'm just I don't mean anything in a bad way. I'm just brutally honest. Don't get me started on the Armed Forces Covenant.
So tell us what is in the pipeline for Chad Maskell and Veteran Housing Group, and I'm waiting for you to turn around and go, I'm going to fucking space, Stu.
Mate, no, sod that. I'm scared of heights. No, mate, I'm just we're just rolling it out. So, county councils, they're really struggling, mate. And I don't want them to, So I'm saying, look, as well as I do, we've been pulled in every direction right now. From because MPs and chief execs and councillors, the directorates, they're hearing about what we're doing, so they're like, we're coming here. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can do something. It's very much a genuine, open discussion. And then we're like, well, let's just get, because it's a huge headache. They're having to do everything else as well, because it's so separate and so disconnected. Centralize it, mate. Centralize it. I control the reason veterans are being turfed out of properties is because the people in control of them don't own them. That's not a smart move. No. You've got the housing association, like that one up in Bolton, for example, right? That property, I've had a look, I've had a walk round. I met some of the residents. I went with Darren, from Veterans in Logistics. He took me there. Darren's like, right, I need you to come and have a look. So I need you to come and I took, sound, mate, no problem. So bang, went up there. And that property, you could do so much with it, but it's a pile of shit. It has been designed specifically for special supported care. That as in wheelchair access, there's too much wasted space. The bathrooms, you can wheel a chair into there. There's which is great for the right types of residents, but then they've not kept on top of it. It looks like absolute shit internally. So they don't control that property. So our properties, we buy them, we provide the services, we manage that from start to finish. I own them. I look after my houses, all right? You look after them. With veterans, you crack the whip, all right? Mate, or you're done. It's that simple, right? All right, you fall off the wagon, we'll work with you. Let's,
That's part and parcel of the process, isn't it? Like having some self-care, self-responsibility, and
you can also crack the
looking
whip
after your ship.
Yeah,
of course.
Army, Navy, Air Force, we're one of the same, mate. That's it. End of. Right? I don't care what you are. I mean, the reason I'm up in Hull, and I'm not doing this for a pat on the back, mate, veterans go above and beyond for each other. So just the other day, right? And I'm not saying anything to promote myself or anything like that, because I don't, mate, like I said, I don't give a shit for that. If I saw that there was a 91-year-old veteran, right, that had just died with no family, I'm sat there, I'm like, well, that's not going to happen, mate. Right. Let me get this on social media. Let me call on everyone. Right. I'm heading up to South Shields tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow. Let's do a show of force. Let's come together. Let's go and let's get out there. We can't let him, cross over and knock on the gates without any support. And so bang, get up to South Shields, and then the whole community's come out, mate. The whole
yeah.
The British spirit is lifted. You've got biker gang or biker. I don't want to say gangs. A biker.
Yeah, I know what you
you
mean.
Know what I mean? Clubs. Sorry. And these boys are just beyond patriotic.
Yeah,
You've got local
yeah.
communities. You've got Army there, Navy, Air Force. You've got just people from Northern Ireland. It's beautiful, mate. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And we're all tipping up there. We don't know this guy from Adam. His picture comes
Yeah.
up, and you see he looks like a proper lad. Do you know what I mean? Like back in the day. And everyone's there for a similar cause because we're there to help and support each other. We don't need the media. We don't need awards. We don't need that. I hate that, for the record. I can't stand all these awards and well done. And no, it's to create awareness. No, I'm sure it is. But I don't care for them. Don't come knocking on my door for them. I'm here to get a job done. It's about, I'm not doing it for any of that. I'm doing this for my people. I'm doing it for my communities. I'm doing it for those lads and lasses that need help and support. When I get to the gates, mate, all I need him to do is just give me a nod. You've done all right, son. That's enough.
Yeah.
That's it,
And that's the thing. The veteran community, the armed forces community, is a powerful community.
Powerful,
when
mate.
we come together, we're unstoppable.
Hey, look,
unstoppable.
I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of dicks as well. There is.
Oh yeah.
I'm not afraid to call
as
out
you
my
said
own.
earlier. As you said earlier, like in every community, in every walk of life, there's dickheads.
Yeah, it's just part of the parcel, part of the process. But I'm not gonna roll over. I know how to control a boardroom. I know how to control, a section, should we say. I know how to deal with people at different levels. It's because it's necessary. It's all part of that learning curve. You make mistakes, you did this, however, it's all necessary. It's for who and what it is. But with us, we can crack the whip with our own. It's very different to how civilians would deal with civilians, right? We know how to deal with our own. It's very simple. So let's take control of this. Let's work it. Let's get the solutions. Let's get the media. Let's get them into these great corporates. Let's get local authorities. Let's take the burden off of their shoulders. Let's really work this. And let's scale, because this is a multi-generational, this will never end, mate. This will never end. This is a multi-generational legacy that is scaling across the country, and everyone will take ownership of their hub that will be self-sufficient and ran. Obviously, it'll be, in terms of the numbers, the processes, the health and safety, there's so much will be run from a mothership of sorts, centralized, but each entity will be done and run. And they, will appoint the right people, that can run those hubs because that's their area. That's what they want to do. I'm not in Hull for no reason, right? I'm everywhere. I am.
Yeah.
There's so many places I've got to go to, but then I'm like, well, let's find the right person to help and support you in this area. And then the corporates come out the woodwork. No, we do this to support veterans. We do because they want to, It's just, I love it, mate. I'll come in, if I'm not sorry, I'll come across really passionate.
Don't apologise, mate. Yeah, exactly.
Mate, we're saving lives, we're changing lives, we're giving people the opportunity to get that exit, to get out there where people could have pulled the trigger or, do you know what I mean? They're in that dark headspace. I've been there. A lot of us have been there. We're ready to end it. You know what I mean? Because as a man, you get so many responsibilities and so many things. I'm not taking anything away from women. They're incredible, but I've never understood them. I don't think I ever will. But they're like most men on the planet. But, I'm just like, I know my place. All right. Just keep them as happy as you can. But, but you see what I mean? You got a job to do. Just get on and just get it done, Yeah. Yeah. So.
Look, mate, it's been a pleasure speaking to you and hearing your story. And as much as we've spoken quite a bit over the last few months, there was stuff I've found out about that I think is incredible. I think your passion comes through. I think if there was more Chad Maskells in this world, the world would be a better place.
I think my ex-wife would agree with you there, but yeah.
Should have married me, Chad, instead.
Yeah. Sorry, sweetheart. I don't back that way, but you should know. No, I mean, look, there are a lot of great people out there. You just got to find them. And I didn't want to throw any shade on the larger organisations, even because whether you like it or not, they do great things. They have great people within them. And I'm not here to blow smoke up people's backsides, and I use that term a lot because I call a spade a spade. That's how I am. But there are a lot of great people in a lot of great organisations that do good things, if not great things, to support veterans. Look, I'm a vessel. I'm on a journey. I've got a job to do, and I'm going to get it done. And anybody that can jump on board and work with us, great. I've got the collective around me that I've got my six that I'm building out, and that we're building out, should I say. So, we've got people everywhere, and it's growing. And we're the next generation coming through. So, look, it was really evident sat at that every board, mate. And I'm looking at these lads, and they are, young and handsome in their 40s, like us, And then I just thought, this is our time now. We've got a good 20 years to roll at this. We're going to be flushing out the old guard. You've got the young uns coming in. You've got those that we've spent the last 20 years building up our trades, building up our craft, piecing things together. And our networks are powerful. When you put them together, good people create good networks of great capability. And you just keep building and growing, building and growing. So our network's coming through now. And we're flushing out what doesn't work. And we're putting in what does. So get on board or move out the way, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of how it's going.
Exactly, mate.
Sorry, mate.
Anyway, Chad, I'll share the Veterans Housing Group website. Obviously, you can find Chad on LinkedIn, Facebook. But yeah, if you want to be part of the solution, get on board. Cheers, mate.
Happy days, buddy. I appreciate your time. Thank you.